Welcome to Dance to Heal. I'm your host, Jenny C. Cohen. Join me as I share stories of how dance and movement can bring healing in a way that is safe and tailored to your life. I'm a cancer survivor, mother of two, and an award-winning performer who found that movement was vital to my recovery. I created Dance to Heal Wellness and also authored the best-selling book, Outside in Recovery, Dancing My Way Back to Myself After Breast Cancer. I will bring new techniques to help you on your dance journey and healing path. Are you ready to move? Dance to Heal starts now. Classically trained in ballet and modern dance, Jill has had a lifelong passion for performance arts. Post her BFA in dance education with concentration in modern dance, Jill toured for a decade with Belly Dance Evolution. In 2015, Jill founded the production company Cathartic Art, which advocates for mental health through art, live performance, and the creative process. Currently, she's the artistic director of the Sahlala dancers in LA, a Sharkey master instructor, and in her 5th season performing and touring with LA choreographers and dancers. And without further ado, I am so excited that you get to finally meet Jill this fall. Jill, welcome!
Oh, I'm so happy to be here, Jenny. Thank you so much for asking me to do this.
So much joy. Her bio was impressive. Y'all, I had to cut it short. There's so much more that she's done because my producer's like, you can't do this long bio, but I want to wax eloquent about Jill. So you're going to have to find out more information about her when we give you the website later in this episode. Here's the thing. We talked a little bit before I hit the record button, and for Jill, she shared with me that dance has an identity is very pivotal to her. Would you share with the audience a little bit of what that means?
Well, I have always wanted to dance. Like I have a very early memory of being like maybe 3 years old and going into the kitchen where my mom was washing dishes and kind of sassily putting my hands on my hips and just saying, Mom, I want to dance. I want to be in some dance classes. I just have never stopped. And when the pandemic hit and things were looking really dire for the performing arts, I thought, what am I doing with myself? Maybe I should even switch into the medical field. And I actually started taking some entrance exams into PTA school because I just didn't see how things were going to survive. And then I had this opportunity from Jelena to take over the Sahlala dancers. And so I kind of came to this crossroad of, do I want to, go into this more stable medical field, which I've always had an interest in, or do I want to take on this more of a director, producer, choreographer role and become a business owner? And I talked to a lot of different people in my life, and every single one of them kind of had the same thing to say to me. They just thought that they could not picture me without having dance in my life. Like that is how much of my identity I get from dance, is that every person from friends to family to mentors to colleagues, they were just like, I can't picture you without dance in your life. So ultimately it's your choice, but I think that you would be really regretful if you allowed this opportunity to pass you by. So it's always been a defining factor for me.
Jill, the rehab world will always be there. I am a recovering occupational therapist, and I can say for sure the life of a PTA, once you decide you want to make dance more in the background, will be there waiting for you. I just came from a PTA appointment where they're so gifted with their hands because they also understand movement, which you have done all your life. So when I tell them I have a spasm, they automatically know what questions to ask me because they've already had that experience as a movement person, right? So yeah, it's definitely a more stable job. However, it has its own setbacks, as with every job.
Right. And I'm not saying that, dance hasn't had its, bumps in the road and struggles, but I just remember when I was going into my senior year of high school and I was having to decide where I was going to go to college, what I was going to do once I graduated. I was still considering going into the medical field because my mom was a nurse for like 40 some years, and I'm fascinated by surgery. Like I'm one of those people that watches those pimple popping videos, and my mom would bring home surgery on VHS tape. I'm dating myself because she'd have to kind
Yep.
of brush up for certain cases.
Me.
And I just loved watching surgery. So it's always been fascinating to me. Um, but I just kind of knew that if I didn't wake up and have dance in my life every day, I wasn't going to be as happy as I know was possible. And so ultimately, that's why I chose to go this route, even though it's uncertain, and you kind of have to create your own pathway because there's no real set career trajectory for dancers. And if you want to have longevity in this career. There's no, oh, I go here, then I go here, then I go here. So I knew it was going to be a struggle, but yeah, it was a calling. Yeah, I just couldn't ignore it.
So I would love for you, we're going to segue into the role of dance in your life. Would you share with them this adventure for you it's been?
Yeah, so I found that dance has given me so many opportunities that I don't think I would have had otherwise. I toured with Belly Dance Evolution for a decade, and I currently dance in a modern company that tours. And some of those performances on those tours have been just highlights of my career. I've traveled pretty much all over the world, and I've gotten to meet so many different people from so many different walks of life, different cultures, different religions, ethnic backgrounds. And something I found that was so beautiful in all of these experiences was that dance was our universal language. I've taught workshops before, and I didn't speak the native language. I would try, but I'm pretty bad at it. And they'd just be like, just speak English. But the beautiful thing is that movement is a universal language. And it was something that was kind of the common denominator, no matter what country I was in or, what language we were speaking, is that we knew that this was a hip drop, this was a shimmy, this was a plie. Like it was just this understood language that everybody spoke. And how dance just kind of connects us, not only dance, but how movement connects us. I always find it fascinating to study people's body language. Like that tells me so much about a student or a dancer just by their body language. Um, and so I've just kind of felt that dance is so important, in connecting us with others.
I love this point because, audience, one of the things we're talking about is we're not only Sharkey master instructors together with Ori Sharkey workout program, we're teachers in our own different modalities and different certifications. She's a professional company owner. I've gone and become a Datura style teacher, which is this long years of training, right? So I really wanted her to share some stories with you about the before and after of someone, because I've had plenty of students that will start off saying, I'm not a dancer. And then they love it and they're in it for years. And we've seen them even physically change in their presentations. What have you found, Jill?
It's great that you asked me this because I was teaching my in-person classes last night, and I had a new student try the class, and I said, "Oh, are you just doing a drop-in, or are you going to register for the series?" And she said, "Well, I'm not really a dancer, so we'll see how it goes." And she seemed very unsure of herself, very self-conscious. She kind of stood off to the side in the back, and as I started class, I had to say, "Everybody, move forward." And by the end of the class, like she was just smiling and had this lightness about her, and she wanted to sign up for the full session. And I think that's something super important that I strive for as a leader, as a director of a company and as the leader of a classroom, as a teacher, is I always try to create a lighthearted, safe space for my students and for my dancers. But in a way that they still have to work hard. And I want them to know that I'm paying attention to them
Mm-hmm.
and that I care about them. I care
Mm-hmm.
about them doing it correctly,
Mm-hmm.
but because I want them to be safe, not because I want to make them professional dancers, you know. Um, but I'm kind of drawn towards that type of personality when it comes to being a teacher and a director, because I want people to walk away feeling empowered. And maybe if they didn't get the movement that class, that they know if they come back and they continue to put the work in, that they're gonna see results. Um, so yeah, that's kind of my motto is that's how I try to run my classes and rehearsals with that mindset.
Well, speaking of this, because we talked about this too, audience, our our perspective as students ourselves versus now that we've had quite a number of years teaching, and in our search for teachers, because be honest, I won't go to a teacher that isn't still learning, right? And so oftentimes I'll reflect back to myself that how I looked at a teacher was very different when I first started the fall of 2002 in belly dance. I was already doing hip hop and other things prior, even prior to that, how I would have done different teacher selection in New York City at Broadway Dance Center versus now with all this knowledge about how to listen to my body first. How does that shift it for you, Jill?
You know, I've kind of just realized this in the past, like couple months, 6 months, that really has been a shift for me. Because I'm kind of getting towards the end, not the end of my career, but I'm kind of phasing out of wanting to do, 15 gigs a week. And but that was my life for like 20 years, just gigging, rehearsals. And when I was younger, I wanted to be seen. I wanted people to know who I was. I had to prove myself. And so I would approach a class by impressing the teacher, like just going super hard, 100% full out all the time. Maybe injure myself, but I didn't care because I killed that combo. And now as a director and as a master teacher, I choose teachers because I want to see their energy when they teach. I want to feel their essence. I want to watch more seasoned teachers, how they move. And I don't really care if I impress them with how I dance. Like that's not what I'm there for. I'm there to absorb their energy and find out things that I enjoy as a student and what I want to give to my students. But also I take class and I notice like things that I don't like. If I don't like their time management or their warm up sucks or there's no cool down, you know what I mean? Like those are things that I pay attention to now more so in my further on in my career, where if I was a younger dancer, I'd be like, oh yeah, maybe that warm-up wasn't great, but that was so and so that choreographed this video. Like that wouldn't have phased me. Where now I'm like a little judgy.
And, right, judgy in the sense that we know what works for us and what we're going to elect to participate in.
Yeah.
And I love that perspective because I go into class and I used to teach my beginner dancers, don't worry, no one's looking at you, because they're really focused on themselves, right? And following the teacher. Oh, I'm looking at you because I'm watching if you're learning what the teacher's teaching you. Do you have a smile on your face? Are you enjoying it? Or are you really, really worried about impressing the teacher? Has the teacher looked at you? Has she made sure she distributed her attention throughout the class so that everyone feels welcome? Because I know as a participant, because I'm always taking classes, I'm this eternal student. I'm actually really careful who I expose myself to, how long I expose themselves to. I even look at the setting with which they're teaching. So I just went to this amazing event in June and we had a ballroom and it was a rug. So I stayed in my sneakers the whole time. And I had to be really careful because I knew my sneakers would catch on the rug, right? However, I knew under the rug is a cement floor. I'm 55. I cannot dance barefoot in socks on a cement floor now. I wish I had known that, right? As a younger dancer, because I would have stayed in my knees up to now.
I really did years of dancing on these rugs thinking, oh, there's a rug, it's safe. And I thought to myself, now, if I could have just told the younger me who started dancing at these big conventions in my mid 30s, keep your shoes on.
Dude, I
Do the
bruised
little
my
slippy things.
coccyx bone doing that before.
What?
Dancing on carpet that has concrete underneath. Bruised my coccyx bone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I
Audience, are you
didn't care
listening?
back then. I didn't care. I would have been
Right?
so mad about it now.
Audience, are you listening? We're giving you all the juicy. Wish we had known when we were younger and beginner dancers. Even if you're an experienced dancer, be
Yeah.
aware, right? You want to dance for longevity. This gift of movement, we want to take into all of our lives. That's what we're hoping for.
And kind of touching on that too, I watch for burnout. Are the teachers giving the students too much information and they're being overwhelmed and they're burning out? Because I found like as an instructor, I give and I have so much information I want to share with my students. But as a student, sometimes I'm just like, whoa, that was a lot of information to digest. I wish I would have gotten about a third of what they gave me and really sunk my teeth into that. So now as a student, I kind of check in with the temperature of the room. Like, are we still hungry? Is this moving at a pace that everybody can work with, or are we burning out?
Yes. Yes, I love that. I love that. In my cancer treatment, I would go to events because I acknowledged there was this exchange, right, and energy amongst the dancers. And even if I couldn't dance, I would sit in the room and bathe in it because it was so rejuvenating.
Mhm.
Yet I still do remember there were of some of the events where the energy was only going one way, even in performances, Jill. Have you noticed that? Like certain dancers, like big names in our industry, I would
Mhm.
feel really tired. They would be phenomenal, but I would feel tired after the show. And then certain dancers, also big names, I would feel fed
Mhm.
at the end of the performance. And we want to ask you to pay attention to your body and make sure that you feel fed after a class. We're not talking about you should be sweating, you should have worked
Mhm.
out, you should feel buzzing and warm and happy, and you're excited to come back and learn that combo that you may or may not have had difficulty. You still want to feel energetically fed at the end of that class.
Yeah, burnout is something that I've really had to master, or not master, but I've had to be a little bit more hyper aware of as I'm getting older. Because in the gig industry,
Oh,
sometimes like it's feast or famine. You know, summer is kind of a slow death for us. So when the work is not there, I have to learn to just accept that and embrace this downtime. And then when the work comes, just to be really mindful of keeping it all balanced and not burning out.
yes, yes, I love that. So for you as the listener, right? If you're a teacher, pay attention to your energy levels when you're burnt out. If you're a student and they're a gigging dancer, pay attention to when they're burning out. Because they're going to show you signs, you'll know. And
Yeah.
those are the times you have to be really tuned into your body where you can tap out if they're not 100% there for you, right, Jill? Because it's
Yeah.
not on purpose. Everyone's doing the best they can. You still are responsible for your body and you have to pay attention to that.
But as a instructor and as a director, I know my dancers and my students well enough now. And even if I don't know them that closely, I've been doing it for so many years.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sensitive on people's energy levels. So I know if I push them a little bit more, if I'm actually going to get something out of them, or if I push them, that it's going to shut them down. And I
Yes.
never ever want to get to the point where they shut down, you know. So just as a teacher, you know, just to be aware of that that potential burnout, like you can see it happening.
Ooh, I love that. So be aware of that, folks, whether you're the student or the teacher, right? Because on both sides of that coin, you want someone like Jill and myself who are aware of that because we're also learning still and knowing when we shut down and how to
Mhm.
be careful and watch for the signs when our students shut down. And we know when to push them and when we know to back off. Question for you, Jill. This is the TMI moment, if you don't mind sharing. Was there anything that you would like to share with the audience about how dance has been for you in your whole life?
About how dance is what?
Been for you? Like what is healing for you in your dance? Like for you, what was healing for you when you dance?
Ah, that's a beautiful question, Jenny. I mean, dance, like I said, it's always been there for me. It's always something that I had wanted to do, but I don't think I was conscious of why I was so driven towards it, especially at like a younger age, until many years later. Um, I actually have a lot of anxiety that I struggle with to this day, and um, I battled depression, geez, since I was a kid, seasonal depression, and just kind of off and on through the years. And whenever I would dance, it gave me space to not focus on that. You know, I would be so physically attuned, emotionally invested, and mentally aware that there was no space for those anxious thoughts or those depressive states to come in. And even if it was just for that 90-minute class or that 3-hour rehearsal, whatever it was, it gave me some reprieve. And then obviously like later on I did have to go to some therapy to work through things, but I think that's why I was always so drawn to dance, like especially I'm classically trained in ballet and modern, so like that structure of knowing I go into class and I'm going to have to do the ballet bar, like that gave me a sense of control. And when you can't control your anxiety, it's like kind of like bringing back some control in your life. So I found that, dance really helped me to stay disciplined and to give structure mentally. And it always felt really good to be physically fatigued when I would have trouble sleeping, when I was having these anxious and depressive episodes, to physically tire myself out made it a little bit easier to go to sleep. But then also for me, it was a an opportunity to express emotion that I've always had a difficult time verbalizing. And I've gotten this comment a lot from different directors and colleagues I've worked with, is that I'm an extremely emotional dancer. It's not, I can't control it. It just kind of comes out. And I think it's because I use movement as a means to express emotion that I have a difficult time doing verbally. And even if I can't be specific with what that emotion is, but there's just like this energy that I get to release when I'm in class or when I'm performing or when I'm rehearsing. And I feel like it saved my life. It really has.
Oh, bingo. Bingo. You hit it on the nose. Thank you for answering so candidly, Jill. Audience, dance can save your life. For me, I found it in my childhood. Even as young as third grade, I berated my poor mother. We had immigrated from Taiwan to the States, and they owned a restaurant. They just wanted me to get A's, and I berated her to take ballet. And I continued through the classes because they were electives in high school, then took a couple of semesters in college. For me, especially when I found belly dance, it became this form of prayer. I could be so present and actually feel grateful for my life because I just had so much unrecognized trauma in my life. I was just as depressed and anxiety filled as many of us did not know we were until you get older enough to find a therapist to help you figure out and unravel those knots. I find it really interesting, Jill, for you, unless you were rehearsing alone, for the most part, dancing in community is very healing. There's nothing that can replace it. Yes, dancing alone is super important and you got to do it. I love that. I think I encourage that because you're not worried about people judging you. And at the same time, to find a safe space to dance, Jill, because a lot of the examples you were giving us, we're all dancing in community.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting that you say that. I lost my dad like, oh geez, 11 years ago.
Mhm.
And it was a pretty tragic the way that it happened. And when I came back to my life in Los Angeles, I decided to create this piece, and it had nothing to do with my dad, like the piece itself, but the emotion that I was expressing, that grief. I poured all of that into that dance piece, and that I did, by myself in the studio alone. So that was very cathartic. But I remember coming back to my gigs, and I would drive to the restaurant, and I would cry in my car until I could pull myself together. I'd go in and I'd do the show. And by the time we would get to the drum finale, it was like the first time I had felt some semblance of happiness, even if it was for those 3 minutes of the drum solo. And I realized it was something because we were moving in unison and the power of the drums. I felt really supported. And that's great that you pointed that out, Jenny, because dance really is a community. If you're always in class or always in rehearsals and you don't show up, somebody's going to ask about you. They're going to check in with you and see if you're okay, and it's the community of dance is something that's it's unlike anything out there.
Yeah, we're exchanging energies when you're in a class. Whether you ever say a word in class, there's an exchange of energy.
Mhm.
I mean, my very, very first solo ever that I did at an event in Atlanta was about my son being diagnosed with type 1. And it was an ugly piece. And everybody was bawling by the end. They had no idea what I was dancing about. They felt I understood their pain. I don't do that piece much anymore, to be honest, because I have to work myself into such an emotional kind of traumatic state. I don't do that piece anymore. I really advocate you dance from a healed place in public because you don't want to put the people through your trauma. However, that piece was very special. I rarely bring it out. I actually don't ever bring it out. The point of it is that healing with the community with that dance number allowed me to let go of the pain
Yeah.
of my son having type 1, at 10. He almost died. We were in like this ambulance, right? Hoping his heart didn't stop before they could transfer him to the children's hospital. Things like that. It's really important. Even if you don't perform a piece about it, go to your community. Be careful of the isolation, that healing part. Some part of it has to be done in community.
I always equate it to the Martha Graham piece Lamentation.
Yes.
And in this solo, she's on a bench, and she's in this long woolen, very tight fabric, and the whole thing is just this like tension of this push and this pull, and it's a gorgeous piece. And what struck me the most about it was this woman in the audience. When she saw it, it was the debut. She said that she cried and she had lost her child, and she had not been able to grieve until she saw Martha Graham dancing this piece. And like that, to bring it kind of full circle to what we were talking about, the dance is communication. Like she didn't know what Martha Graham was dancing about in that piece, but she felt something, and that sensation, that humanity, that commonality, like that's I think what is so healing about dance is that we might not have gone through the specifics of each other's experiences, but there's a universal understanding of grief or happiness or remorse or whatever it may be, and that really I think is the power of dance, is that communication.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, community and dance is community and dance. So along those lines, because we've run out of time, and I have to end. Jill, you'll have to come back, okay?
I know we gotta do this again.
I know.
I
So
can
yeah,
talk to you forever.
well, I mean, we rarely actually have time to talk because we're both so busy. This interview got rescheduled like twice already, y'all. So
Yeah, we were supposed to do this like
back in the
months ago.
spring. Anywho, so here's the thing. You can experience us both. If you want to try a free class on Sharky.com, we both teach on the virtual studio. So you can get us via recorded, live and recorded. You can do that. If you want to really just experience Jill, and I would, you can find her on the IG or YouTube under
We're the Sahlala dancers, so that's SAHLALA Dancers, DANCERS.com. That's our website. Our Instagram handle is the same thing, at Sahlala Dancers, and same with our YouTube. So come check us out. Got some free tutorials on there, and you can check out some of our performances. And yeah, thank you, Jenny.
Great. Yeah, so make sure you get on Jill's email list. She wasn't, we were debating whether or not to talk about it, but I really do want to make you aware. If you get on her email list, you'll hear about her fundraising efforts to celebrate the 25-year anniversary of this dance company starting next year. So get on that email list now, right? Because this will play through November into December into ad nauseum. We want to make sure you're a part of that celebration.
Well, I appreciate the support, really. That's, art makes the world go round. So
Absolutely.
Any way by supporting, just becoming a subscriber, a follower, somebody on the email list, like even just those small free things that you can do means so much as somebody who's, trying to be a business owner, from the ground up.
Yes. And if you like this episode, like and subscribe to this channel, Dance to Heal. All right, we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Dance to Heal with Jenny C. Cohen. Come back next time to hear stories of recovery through movement and learn more ways that you can move your body. To work with me and continue your journey, visit OutsideInRecovery.com. Are you ready to move?